But one of the things you have mentioned there is kind of like the prep and the work and I was a kitchen hand in New Zealand and I did maybe an 8 hour shift. Now there were chefs there before me and after me, you know, the work, the grind, and them guys would have went out the back, a cup of coffee and a cigarette for their break, and they're stick thin, and they may be picking at stuff, and the lifestyle, the industry. I mean, I know you yourself, you're looking to kind of change it in a way, make it more positive for the young people coming through. Do you want to touch on your experience and what, that work-life balance or
Yeah,
what
sure.
you experienced, and then what you're kind of doing to change that?
Yeah. But like, I will say that it's definitely it seems to get better every year. The industry, and it's changed probably drastically. Not probably. I don't like saying it's changed drastically since I got into it, because I don't feel like I've been in it a lifetime. I've been
Yeah.
like 15 years, and there's been significant changes. I think, like, first off, a lot of it, in terms of like the gruel and the grind, not that it's self-inflicted, but sometimes, certainly for me, coming up, and again, it was all about that kind of light bulb kind of moment in college where, for me, and I don't want to say anybody give me this impression, I thought that the harder you worked, the bigger payoff you would get, in terms of the more you would develop as a chef, the more you would grow as a chef. So, and for
Mm-hmm.
me, I couldn't see that happening unless you're willing to put in the 14 plus hour days. And that was on, like, and on top of that, like, working 6 7 days. And there would have been a period where, on your days off, I'd have been very happy to. I worked in a butcher's for a wee bit, just doing a bit of like prepping on meat and just learning that wee bit of skill, or working in another restaurant for free. I would have done that for a good bit on your day off again, or just, it still would have been food focused. Even if you had a down day, you might have like used that day to read books. For I think 5 years, was doing like my part time like foundation degree in culinary arts and getting all
Yeah.
my certificates in teaching. So I done that. So it meant that it just was normal for me. Like, that whole mindset of, you didn't have a day off was like not really a thing. Like, you would have, like, so that I just kind of grown into the industry, that was just the norm.
Yeah.
So I do want, like, it's like that's part of it, for me. But like, now, with the benefit of hindsight, um, I do think it's important, and because I'm a part-time lecturer now myself in a local college,
Yes.
I do think now that I have a job where, like, currently, um, we work 4 days on and we have 3 days off in normal times, of course. And the shifts can be long, but they're like not grueling, not the same grind as such. And with the benefit of hindsight, you'd like to be able to tell yourself a few things, but I can't do that. But what I would try and encourage students is to maybe, manage, like, their own expectations and their own mind, their own wellness, I guess. So, which I didn't do. Like, you would have just worked, and you would have worked with this like invisible or non-existent end in sight, where you were like, okay, this is all going to pay off one day. I'm going to be whatever. And I suppose that's kind of false. You kind of maybe now have to, look after yourself more from day dot, and maybe put yourself, first, and focus on maybe your own. Like, there's a lot of like mental, I don't want to say mental health issues in kitchens, but generally, like, chefs, there's a lot of chef burnout where,
Yeah.
you just chase this like kind of rainbow, I guess, which I was kind of doing. I was like, look, this is all going to pay off. You're working, I don't know, it's like working, work smarter, not harder. I was working harder, not smarter.
Yeah.
And I think I would be trying to encourage students now to, make sure that they've got a good grounding and foundation of, like, their own mind, and be looking after
Yeah.
themselves. Like, just wee simple things. Like, I
Aye.
didn't drink enough water early in my career, and then you would have been wrecked all the time. And again, like the crack. like it would have been normal to work your 12-hour day and then go out and have a lot of drinks and then get up the next day and do it again. And you
Hmm.
repeated that. But don't get me wrong, I look back quite fondly at those days. So I don't
I
want to
was
be.
wondering there. I was wondering there how if he's working all the time, how's he getting all these women? And of course, you're going out after your work.
But that's why it's like there's a lot of like it's a very like it is like it's a tremendously fun industry because it's so I guess it's so on PC at times. But I like for me I would look now just with a bit more maturity and now trying to open my own business and I'm thinking for the future and thinking like trying to strengthen this industry. I think it's important to have like work-life balance, yes, but have a better perception of the industry and have that just a more professional kind of approach. Like it would
Mm,
be lovely for me. The perfect balance of a kitchen would be somewhere where you felt like every day was a bit of fun, but was also quite professional. Like you took pride in like the uniform you're wearing, you took pride in like your decisions, and I think that maybe has to start a bit earlier in terms of like maybe what we're telling like kids in college and what we're trying to instill in the younger chefs. And I
yeah.
think that that's something I kind of want to focus on moving forward, whereas I didn't think about it before. Like I would have.
Aye.
Sorry.
No, no, because I was going to say develop that a wee bit more and how you're actually doing that, but taking pride in obviously the appearance and the uniform is one thing, but is there anything else like are you allowing them to kind of go right on your day off? Are you switching off from food or uh go play the football or what is it else? What else outside of
Oh yeah,
the
like I mean,
yeah,
again, and I'm in a position like I'm the very early stages of open on my own, but I think it's important that for me, I'm trying to like learn these principles myself. So I
yeah.
would have been typically terrible at switching off. So now I'm
Hmm.
practicing that better, and I'm trying to again trying to set aside time for some like again very basic entry level like yoga and then maybe some meditation and trying to relax and switch off and know that right when you leave work work ends and when you're in work work begins. Having more respect for people in terms of how you talk to them, having better communication,
Yes.
like because I think there's not enough kind of conversations in kitchens. Like there can be a lot of it can be a very passive aggressive kind of environment,
Yeah.
which I think is unfortunate. You do, and not that it's different than other jobs, but you can spend a lot of time with other chefs. You're almost like in the trenches in the foxhole, and I think it would be. I would like to just have some sort of procedures or structures where I don't know, where you're kind of maybe taking a bit of time in the day to just decompress with each other, or maybe that means that every like part of the your working days would do like a mindful session together, or there is a bit of yoga. We have
Hmm.
outside people coming in, like we have a just like an on-site person whose job is to make sure we're looking after each other as such. Whether
Yeah.
that means, and that can filter through like so many levels, like in terms of you might work 12, 14 hours a day. And you, as you've just said about having a cigarette and a coffee and like eating, like for me that like that can't happen. Like if I'm to open a business and for it to be successful, like there needs to be not only a structure where if you're working that long, you get fed a couple of times a day, but I need to make sure that the food you're eating is like not only tasty, but it's nutritious
Yes.
so that like you're being looked after. I need to make sure that there's like water available. I need to make sure that I don't want this kind of culture coming in the morning and like cracking open a Red Bull and like going out for a cigarette.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to ruin anybody's young experience of going out on the piss after work because I done that when I was young. But maybe have a facilitation where, right, you're off this next morning. That's your night to go on the piss, but don't come in here unless you're 100%. But make people want to buy into that. Like
Yeah.
again, like you'd want to like if I don't think I'd change it because met some great people, made some good friends along the way. But you could have worked a bit. I could have if I could go back in time, I'd maybe go work in environments that maybe were a bit more professional. Um, because I just done what everybody else was doing. Like it was just
Yes.
normal to go out to bars after. It was just not like that was just fine. And it wasn't until like I probably just got sick of having hangovers that I was like, no, that's enough. Or you worked somewhere where you had a drive, but when it was close, you were like, oh, this is great. But
Yes.
I would have liked to maybe gone somewhere where they had them like professional procedures in place, and where you maybe, yeah, you kind of had that like pride of uniform instilled, and like not in a like, I don't know, like not in a strict military type way, but more in a, you wanted to be there, because I think sometimes like having that sweet balance in kitchens in Northern Ireland. I don't know if we're there yet. Like I don't want to tarnish every kitchen, but based on my experience within the industry in Northern Ireland, especially, like you'll either have kitchens that are a bit of crack or kitchens that are quite strict.
Yeah.
But it's trying to find that sweet spot where you
That middle
feel like
ground.
you feel welcome, you feel safe, you feel
Hmm.
confident. Like kitchens and cooking, it's kind of a confidence game. Like you're dealing in very high pressurized situations. It's not like we're not saving lives. Like I get really annoyed or irritated when I hear chefs try and like say that this is the hardest job in the world. Like we're not even cleaners in hospitals. Like we don't have the pressures that actual people with pressures have.
Yes.
So I don't want that to come across. But we are in pressurized situations. Like that is true. Like, but we put that on ourselves, or somebody
Mm,
above us has put it on. A lot
yes.
of the time with me, I would have put that pressure on myself. That's why I don't like maybe blaming the industry as such, because nobody told me to
Yep.
relentlessly practice and train and do this and do that.
Hmm.
But it would just be nice if I think in general if there was like just more, I don't know, awareness of like just the effects and just general
Uh,
mental health
well,
kind of.
let's. I guess hopefully the work that you're doing in the college and with the students that it does come through and they do take that time to look after themselves a little bit more. And then obviously, if they are going out into the industry, then they're going into places where they do have that middle ground.